start releasing portions of that money.
Yes, for drawdown.
Because again, they need to release their capital so they can keep doing additional work. So that's the carrot and the hammer that comes along with it. It's a very rare case, but when it does happen where a developer goes bankrupt, then it's a legal process at that point to get the monies released, and it takes a while.
And all this is consistent with regulated state law and the municipality's planning code. The municipalities can't just arbitrarily say how much money they want to hold, let's hold twice that, because there are rules that everybody has to play by. And as Scott summarized, those are that engineer cost estimates are provided for all the infrastructure. That's tabulated for the total cost. It would be improvements within the right-of-way and if necessary stormwater or other life safety type improvements throughout the development, stabilization of the entire site. And then that amount there's a 10% contingency added to that. And then there's potential escalation clauses if things drag out for extended periods of time. And there are certain, the township can only dictate so much in terms of the types of security that we provided. The developer has protection through the municipality's planning code to either utilize a letter of credit, a bond, or an escrow. So they have those options. But as in any development in the township, that infrastructure is secured and through an agreement, and those control those securities that are held by the township.
Scott, how about we also give them just a summary of what those irrevocable letter of credits are and bonds are? Can we do that?
Would one of you like to come to the township building and make whatever copies you guys want to see?
Again, so you have that as your baseline, because I think that might help you feel a little bit better when you see what those numbers are and the size of those accounts.
Burks goes under. I want to make sure there's money to pay for it, because if the township winds up having to pay for it, then we pay for it too. So
Exactly.
either way, I just don't want to pay for something that they said they were supposed to do,
Correct.
and these guys don't either. So that's
So-
where we're at.
So
We want to make sure that,
let's get you guys the data,
yeah.
so you can take a look at that.
You know, we made a motion tonight, I was looking for it, I remember right, but one of the motions was on 4 and 5, that there's $900,000 worth of financial security being held. So, you know, they've already, there's basically $1 million that we're holding to do what they don't do in case something happens.
Yeah, I heard that. I thought that was a reduction request or something, but I couldn't remember.
No, phase 4 and 5 was, that's identifying the security they have to establish,
Right.
which is prior to the township signing the phase 4 or 5 plan approval, they have to provide that security. So similar process was done with phase 3, 4, or phase 3, where the township said we're not signing the plan until we provide the financial security for phase 3. So, and I think RC had said, I think the document we could provide you would show you the type of the cost opinion and the securities that are being held, the type of security. I wouldn't quote it as a letter of credit, because in certain cases it may be a bond, it may be a letter of credit.
Yeah, they have 3 choices, basically.
Right.
And just for the record, like, you know, what was said by Burks and what we're just coming to the township to try to get info, because there hasn't been a lot of transparency, and we see, we're talking to neighbors that have been there 10, 11 years, and we're hearing about us, so we're, you know, obviously have some concerns to make sure it doesn't happen again. Can we get involved? Can we help so that we can all make it a good development? Kids, school buses, something like that. You know, nothing on the township or against Burks. We're just, you know, we're just trying to get some transparency.
If one of you wants to join me on Monday, I will provide plans, whatever documents you want. It's a pretty big pile of information. So.
Just because lights were mentioned, do you know what the timeline is to complete the street lights? Because they've been kind of half complete for the past 3 or 4 months now. Posts are in, there's no tops to them. My son just the other night, he probably shouldn't have been on a scooter at 7 o'clock at night doing fireworks, but he ran into a rock and flipped over onto the street because it was, you know, dimly lit. I'm just curious why the street lights haven't been completed.
In phases, this is the newest phase. The
Phase
phase under construction. Yeah.
They typically come to us.
At a certain point, as the build-out occurs, at a certain point, come to the township and ask for authorization to you know, to energize and install the fixtures and so forth. And then there is a ripple effect with the streetlight tax, other things, and who gets charged, and it's a process that plays out. Scott can follow up on it and see where.
Like I said, there's not many requests. Usually you get the work, the
No
phase three a lot
requests.
closer to there, where you'll see when PPL gets out there, basically installs the final fixtures, that's when they send a request to the township to energize the lights.
I'm just curious because of eyesores that you want at the moment, so. I'm just curious if there's a plan to put the toppers on.
A lot of times, that's not even the developer's schedule, a lot of times that's PPL's schedule at this point. That's a lot of times one of the last things that gets done. A lot of times the utilities are what drag on a project in general, just from past experience.
One thing I might want to add for to the interest of the gentleman for redevelopment, once phases 1A, 1B, and 2 are dedicated, I believe that will enable the school district to send their buses in off of Hill Road to pick up the kids in a more safe manner. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, I'm just thinking, talking to Dave Woods over the last several months, that's what they're looking for, dedication of the first phases. And then we can get kids to be picked up internally rather than on Hill Road. So that's going to help a little bit.
And that begins with the motion tonight to approve this agreement.
That's our next thing, right?
The next thing at this point. So if I could word the motion for you, the motion is to authorize signature of the Heatherwoods completion and settlement agreement to match the name of the agreement.
Okay, I'll make that motion. I'll second. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no, motion carried.
If one of you wants to, Monday, 8 to 4:30, I'll have a set of plans ready. You guys can pick out what time.
Is there in those plans a plan for a second exit, a lower exit out of 4 and 5, or is it all coming out?
Right now, everything comes out to Hill Road, there is no connector street. Now, down the road, the Black Horse development, the Black Horse has sold, and there might be the potential to tap into the back of that. That's the hotel to the front along 272 and the restaurant there. We actually have property that goes all the way back to the very back where phase 5 is. But right now, everything comes out Hill Road.
Yeah, and who knows how that may develop and whether they cross the stream at that point and get to the portion of the funded development.
Right now,
Yeah, the
everything's
plans that
Hill
the
Road.
township will outline the complete roadway configuration as proposed in the loop, the road back up to the other one, and then stuff to the adjacent property.
Have there been any talks about a traffic light on Hill Road?
Yes, there actually has been lots of talk about that.
Lots.
If one of you would like to talk about that with Monday, that's a good hour discussion right there. So, the developer of the Black Horse site is going to be looking to put a signal on 272, and I will be able to show whoever comes where on Google Maps it's going to be. It's not at where Hill Road's at right now.
Okay.
Tony, I think the gentleman back there had a question on
Yeah,
mixed use or. Yeah, that's right. Finish that.
yeah, and I have a little information. I believe you were going with 9 Cranberry Lane.
Yeah.
Okay. I was alerted to this situation just a couple of nights ago by one of our residents, who's a friend of mine, mentioned that 9 Cranberry Lane has recently been sold. Single-family detached dwelling, very nice place, in the first phase. Okay, so it's been there a number of years. The previous owner was still listed in my GIS system, so I researched it to see who the owner was. Still under the old owner. But in doing a little bit more investigating, found out that a company called Velt Property LLC currently owns that house. And the complaints that I received were questions, basically, not so much complaints, as to what exactly is this house being used for. What we can determine here from talking with the company, and also had the police department do a follow-up on the property also because we had a call of a disturbance out there the other night. But anyway, it looks like they want to use this house as a group home, okay? Now, group homes are addressed in the ordinance, okay? They basically come under the guidelines of single-family dwellings, okay? Now, the group home that this one is talking about, or at least the people who own this property are talking about is, and I spoke with a manager in this company today, one 22-year-old resident is going to be housed in that building with a manager, and they have 12-hour shifts for the manager. So at any time, you'll have 2 people in that home. And this is a learning disabled person. And I believe Sergeant Projan was over and actually spoke to the on-site manager and one of these gentlemen, and I can hand it over to the chief because I believe you were out there today too.
Sergeant Projan and I went out today and Sergeant Projan spoke to the employee and actually to the individual. This isn't a court order type thing or anything like that. This is strictly a residence that is purchased by this company that has staff there. He had some visitors the other night that kind of alerted the neighbors, and the short stay traffic is going to be the staff rotating through. So you may see that a lot of people get alerted by short stay traffic and let us know, which is a good thing, but it has nothing to do with anything illegal going on. The disturbance that was called in the other night actually had nothing to do with that place. It was actually 2 individuals in the woods doing something they shouldn't have been from completely other areas. So that's not an association. Sergeant Projan went in to confirm there's not 10 people living in the house. There were not. He had a cordial visit with both the individuals. So it's not something where it raised any alarm bells for us by any means. So I think you're going to have a quiet residence up there. If that changes, you need to let us know. We'll be able to.
And according to Sergeant Projan, he mentioned to me, he says, the house is fully outfitted. He says, the house is in good shape in its own, beautifully appointed. The young gentleman he spoke with easily carried on a conversation and whatnot, so we're not too much worried about the extent of any of his disabilities. But the manager of that particular location called me about an hour after Sergeant Projan came back in, came in with the information. And basically, I outlined in the ordinance, there's a requirement for any type of company doing this type of thing as a group home, they have to have some licensing either through the state or federal government. I made them aware that our ordinance stipulates that license has to be provided to the township. We have to get a copy of that for our records, make sure it's valid and whatnot. They were not aware of that. And I told them straight out, before this can continue, we need to get that paperwork straightened out. And they assured me that I should have something tomorrow morning. Okay? So for the board's knowledge and the residents' knowledge, we're going to keep a close eye on it. And I appreciate the information because the house was sold on May 20th, less than a month ago. So they moved quickly. And the good part is our residents moved even quicker. So now we can keep an eye on it, make sure it's doing the right thing, and have a nice resident in the community.
There may be one person there now,
Yes.
but if it's going to serve as a group home,
I think the group home terminology may be, it's used, but the township only allows 5 people in there. And we confirm that that's not the plan. This is an individual one-on-one basis.
they do list it on their website as the regional office. I believe is the terminology they used for 9 Cranberry. So
There was, on their website, I'm sorry to interrupt, but on their website, I saw it today too, they also purchased another home in Effort Township, okay? And they had that listed also. So what they're talking about, now their main office, the location that I came up with is out in Coatesville, PA, and those are the people I spoke with. So, doing a little investigative work to find out all the interesting things, because believe me, I've had 5 phone calls in the last 3 days about this, and it was from, single moms, drug rehab, how things get twisted in the grapevine. But now you know what we have is fact, and they know we know, so hopefully it'll be conducted as such, okay?
But there's nothing, I don't think, there's nothing restricting them from, essentially now it's a 22-year-old with learning disabilities.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be a certain person, but it could be someone with other issues.
It could be,
Yeah.
could be. In our conversation, drug rehab and all that kind of stuff, none of that ever came up, okay? This was strictly a learning disabled individual.
Yeah, that's not, if I'm familiar with the company, that's not what they do. They don't do court order stuff. If I'm understanding properly, this is for disabled people that have a one-on-one type living arrangement.
Chief, can you So residents are aware of what court order actually means.
Well, if somebody would be arrested and they've been under house arrest and they have some other issues, so then they're placed in a group home. And we've had other situations in the township in the past. Residence was purchased and we learned that there was 15 females living in it that were using it, the company was using it basically as a rehabilitation residence, and they weren't successful. So when we were there several times, it stopped. There was another residence on 897. I'm not sure if it was the same company, but it was similar. We got called for incidents where the individual started to have some more issues and started acting out. We were there and it stopped. So if there's a problem, you just need to call. It doesn't matter what time of day or night. Call, we'll go, we'll look into it. And again, if it becomes a problem, we'll try and head it off right away.
Their website does say drug rehab, does say mental rehabilitation, does say all those different gamut of things. So the question is, can they have up to 5 people in there max? Is that what we're saying, 5 patients or
That's
5
important.
caregivers?
No, I think it's,
The ordinance says 5 people now. It doesn't say 5 patients in the manager. It says 5 people in that home. That can constitute a group home, 5
Okay.
people or less. Unrelated people can be in the building.
Okay.
Currently, our ordinance doesn't get any stricter than that. Maybe something, and Scott and I have already talked about this, maybe something we want to address in the future. But as the chief said, we have had other similar homes in the township, very limited. One of them happens to be up where I live, or used to be, and that kind of faded away. In fact, I believe that business was just sold. Yeah. But for the most part, very quiet. In fact, there may be others I don't even know about because they're under the radar and they're respectful. You know? But we have a nuisance ordinance, property maintenance ordinance. If it gets out of hand, I need to know about it, and we'll take it to the next step. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Moving on, CMI 2019-2020 preventive maintenance agreement.
Mr. Chairman, this is our routine signal maintenance agreement that we adopt every year. CMI has been our maintenance contractor. The amount is $2,895. Perform the annual PennDOT inspections that are required, and then to provide on-call service when we need it for issues where the signal's not working or there's an accident that involves the signal. CMI does an outstanding job. They do pretty much all the signals in the whole county for all the municipalities. And I would ask you to approve this agreement.
I'll make a motion, we approve the CMI agreement for 2019 and 20.
I'll second same.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Lancaster County Conservation District.
Mr. Chairman, this is now related to the same thing with Heatherwoods that we were talking about before. This is our annual memorandum of understanding and agreement that we have with the Conservation District. The Conservation District to provide construction services, inspections, and to manage the erosion and sediment control plans for all construction activity in the township. It's our standard agreement. It meets our MS4 requirements for NIM control measure number 4. And since Brett's here, I don't know if he wants to add anything, but this is a routine document that we have to adopt, or we ourselves have to then start assuming responsibility for those measures. And pretty much every municipality has a conservation district assume that responsibility because they have the ability to fine, which we don't have the ability to do.
I didn't look at the specific document in front of you, but the relationship between the conservation district and the municipalities has been more informal over the years, and then, I don't know, the past 5 or more, maybe longer. It was more formalized, so there was a better understanding of roles and responsibilities, who you contact for certain issues. It also involves nutrient management aspects and ag aspects relative to contacts and follow-up. So it just outlines the services and relationship between the township and the Lake County Conservation District, and it's been a good partnership in the past. And Tony and I have a very good working relationship with various people at the Conservation District to enforce and advise and educate and everything else associated with various aspects
Scott said that's important is they have the ability to find where we don't. And there are those people out there, unfortunately, who do things on the sly. And when they get caught, they always ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And this is the hammer we can use to keep those guys alive.
The motion would be to authorize signature of the Lancaster County Conservation District LLCCD memorandum of understanding. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Old business.
On the MS4 side, you will be taking action under, possibly action under new business with the discussion about appointing Ken McCrae to be a stormwater enforcement officer. He is busy putting the annual report together. He has conducted a number of inspections now over the last couple of weeks. He's helped Chris establish a maintenance program, and we have to do that. Applies with our new permit requirements that we're now under for his next 5-year permit cycle. So we've been making pretty tremendous progress since Ken has joined the township in January. So that's really just a quick update on where we stand with MS4.
Fire, EMS.
On the fire and EMS side, I am in the process of setting up a meeting with Denver Borough to just end with our EMS here in Williamstown to discuss EMS services going forward with the township, the borough, and with Williamstown EMS. On the fire side, we're in the process now, the school's out, of setting up another chief's meeting to look at John Sly and his grant services and some potential things that we can be applying monies for, and to investigate and have continued discussions about the possibility of a study of fire services without going into too much detail. It's still kind of
Woody Waste Gate.
we have now had the gate down for almost 6 weeks. New gate cards that we had originally had problems with the old batch and new batches are working really well. And at this point, we've definitely seen a number of contractors turn around at the gate. That number now has gone down when the gate first went down, so it is now just residents at this point that are utilizing the woody waste product.
I haven't seen, I've been over there a few times, I haven't seen any non-wood waste, which we saw in the past.
What's the last letter?
Yeah, no couches, no pool tables.
I saw one piece today, I was down there, and the road crew came in from that, like Chris said, they're cleaning trees up, and they found a box spring or a mattress somewhere along the road. So you ain't putting that here, just joking with it. You know, we know where to go with it.
But it's working as designed at this point. It's controlling a lot of illegal dumping that was occurring, and a lot of the contractor dumping that was occurring. And if we had not had it in place after that tornado with all of the landscaping work that was occurring, a lot of that would just ended up in the pile.
You're selling a lot of tickets too, I believe.
We have done very well with the ticket sale. We're above 400 now at this point, 400 cards issued.
Civic Plus website.
With us being in the meeting hall here, we cannot put
No.
anything up on the screen. By the next meeting, we should have a rollout of the website we'll put up. And I anticipate that will probably be live before then too.
Good. New business, Route 897 passing zone.
You have the email, just flip it here, that I sent to you, requesting that the Board of Supervisors authorize the manager to prepare a letter to PennDOT. A number of residents along 897 had requests that PennDOT do a study to eliminate the passing zone. They, on their own initiative, reached out to PennDOT. PennDOT seems willing to conduct a study, and all they need is a letter from the manager for them to do the work, and then from that point on, PennDOT to do it. So I'm requesting the motion, should you consider it. Absolutely. Requesting the motion to authorize the township manager to write a letter to PennDOT in reference to the passing zone on Route 97, as discussed in the email presented to you.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions?
Which
Okay.
passing zone is this, in 897?
I have to look down, but it's above Weaver's. I have not even gone out to look at it, so I was waiting for them to do this motion.
Has there been any incidents or just a couple of people?
The complaint that went to PennDOT was that it's causing an exorbitant amount of speeding as people are trying to just navigate around and get around vehicles that are slowing over. So PennDOT would conduct a speed study. But I've not gone out there. I got to go out there and take measurements, pictures, and do all those things. So the exact specific area question, I don't know until I go out there. And I wasn't going to do that until the board gave me the green light.
Basically from Holtzman Road towards Weaver, up in that stretch. I mean, that's general idea.
Yeah, that's the only one there. I think
Right.
it's in
Yeah,
the township.
it's in the flat stretch of the road. What's the wish of the board?
We need a motion, I'll make a motion to have the township manager authorizing the send a letter.
Any comments or further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. North Reevestown Road calming.
Mr. Chairman, we talked about this in the manager's report, and last meeting I made aware that I was going to bring it up under new business for this meeting. Over the course of the year, the last couple of years, we've gotten a number of speed complaints along North Reevestown Road, approaching the square. They have been verified with traffic studies that have been conducted in speed counts. I've been participating in another municipality where temporary speed humps were installed and were very successfully done. And that was what we talked about in the previous meeting.
The red dots are working.
And what I'm requesting authorization for the board is you have the drawing where I just used Google Maps and I showed 4 approximate locations for the temporary speed humps to be placed on North Reevestown Road. I also provide you a rough idea that it's going to cost about $1,500, give or take, for each set of speed humps. That is a budgeted item. We did talk about this last year during the budget process. And the request is just to authorize, to allow the manager to go forward and actually explore where it can be located, get actual numbers of what it's going to cost to install, so then actually put it on a future agenda for action. So not action tonight, just that's the request, you know, that this is the direction you guys want as a board, you'd like the you guys have to go so that I can actually start the steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I will probably at the next meeting have a cost number on the exact location of where it's going to be installed.
Stormwater enforcement officer.
This is again under new business. It's up to the board whether you want to take action or not, but this would be an appointment process. The motion would be to appoint Ken McCray, Mr. Ken McCray, as the stormwater enforcement officer. It is in his job description. That would be one of his roles. As the MS4 program does become more and more implemented in the township, there is a stormwater enforcement part that we are expecting to do with the EPT. And so this would be a motion to just acknowledge that we do have a stormwater enforcement officer in the township, and that Ken McCray is giving the police to do this job.
Do you want that job, Ken?
Someone's gonna need to do it.
Can you qualify for that?
Do I get a badge?
You'll get it done.
It's a Galoshes.
I'll make a motion to appoint Ken McCray as a stormwater enforcement officer.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, Acts of Love Summer Lunch Program distribution at Reevestown Park. I guess we're just acknowledging that, right?
All right, it's more of it's an acknowledgement. I guess this would be in a way of plug for the program that's going to be occurring this summer. You did receive an email that was a little cryptic, that just listed the dates that they were going to be distributing their summer lunch program and the locations, and just looking at the locations. We're going to be making the food at the Reevestown cafeteria and then distributing at Reevestown Park, Denver Park, Vinyls Park, and Adamstown, with a location to be determined where in Adamstown. And now it looks like they added Denver Elementary School to the list too. They have dates in there, they're Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, beginning June 10th and ending July 29th. And I also put a copy of their website they have in there. If you were to Google Acts of Love, it would pop up Faith United, Evangelical Lutheran Church, and it takes to that page that explains the program in greater detail. So the motion is just to authorize Acts of Love, or acknowledge, I think would be a better word, large motion to acknowledge Acts of Love Summer Lunch Program Distribution Center to be held at Reedstown Park.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. I think that's been an ongoing thing. Yeah. Manager report.
Mr. Chairman, on the Recreation Board side, there are no updates. Next week, they actually will be canceling their meeting on purpose, and then there will be an informational meeting, basically a tour of park facilities that will be going on. They will not be making any decisions during that tour. It's more just to give them an opportunity to see various parks around the township, and then to come back in a public meeting and comment on what they saw. Stony Point Field Community Field update. As we talked about last meeting, there was a very successful design day that actually exceeded expectation, and that has formally kicked off the design phase for the community field project. The other week, we did get a formal sketch from the designer and have since uploaded it on the township website and on the Stony Point Park Community Field Facebook page. The Stony Point Park Community Field is now a nonprofit association. They will be holding their first meeting as an association on June 12th, where they will be electing officers and basically scrubbing and going through the volunteer list. And then they will be holding an association-wide meeting that it looks like will be tentatively scheduled for July 10th, where they will attempt to have the whole association and all the people that are for free meet for the first formal meeting of that. And that will be to go over some of the upcoming steps that are going to be occurring in terms of volunteer recruitment and fundraising. So there's a lot of activity occurring with the Stony Point Park Community Field Association and what they're doing. As we talked at the last meeting, there is a need for off-site parking for Stony Point Park, especially with the design build that will now occur. As we authorized at the last meeting, Becker Engineering did go and prepare a sketch of a 24-spot parking plan with 2 additional handicap spaces. Becker will now be actually formalizing the design that has been emailed out to the rec board and to you. And from that design, we will do stakeout. The road crew themselves will then rough out the parking lot in the last 2 weeks of June, approximately 4 inches stone down. And then in July, when Quail Hollow gets paid and the millings come, that will be one of the deposit areas for the millings to put a 2-inch surface of millings down. And then that will be what will be taken to construction. Upon construction being completed, then that parking lot will be over top with a 2-inch clearing course. So this is just to get the place ready to be able to proceed construction and take advantage of the millings that are going to Quail Hollow at this point. We did have the other day a meeting with the county to talk about the official map. That was on June 4th. We reviewed the work that's been done to date on the official map, and we also coordinated next steps. At that meeting with the county, it was agreed to combine the work of what used to be the Spur Road, now the Colonel Howard Boulevard, Denver Road, and Route 272 Corridor Assessment Policy Update that had been started by the Planning Commission, and to combine that with the official map discussion that's occurring to have one overall plan for between the two of them. This will include John Schick from the 2 going forward, and it will involve additional input from the Planning Commission. And as we actually have plans, and then we'll present to the board for input, and then finally adoption of both that assessment plan as well as the official map. We already talked about updating the zoning ordinance to the text amendments. I do have a proposal from Purtu to assist with those, and that will be brought at a future meeting after it's been reviewed by myself, by Tony and by Franklin. We'll go over what they're being proposed there. I have been in discussion with a new contact at Warnersville Correctional Probationary to talk about the cleanup of the Colonel Howard Boulevard corridor. They did express concern about having their volunteers working in the center median. So we're trying to work with them that it will be a safe work environment for their volunteers. And we might be limiting the work to just the shoulders. It would still be a big improvement to clean all the trash that's out there for the last decade plus. Last thing, and she had my meeting list in the manager's report, but there was a meeting with the Lancaster Clean Water Partners, a workshop that was conducted on the 30th with engineers and a few of the municipal managers, where we went over to county WIP and looked at its impacts that are going to be occurring related to the MS4 program for the next 5 years. It was a productive meeting. Still, there's no real game plan at this point other than what's in the pollution reduction plans, which we talked about is addressing less than 1% of the required cleanup for the next 5 years. That's in the county plan right now. So there's no funding in place for the other 99% that needs to occur at this point. And I also see it's going to be very difficult for the county to meet that goal at this point, to remove the 9 million plus pounds of nitrogen that are in that plant, 8 million pounds of which will come from ag at this point. So it's going to be a work in progress. Ken, as your MS4 technician, has been working really diligently with the Conservation District to start looking at which farms have conservation plans and which do not. As we talked about, we have broken the township into 3 sections for inlets, and he's also doing the same thing with farms at this point too. So he's looking at our area 1 right now, and it's actually looking at the Conservation District, determining which farms and they actually have an improved conservation or manure management plan at this point that's in place. That will be, in a way, preventing defects for the farmers when that 8 million pound discussion starts being discussed in greater detail, probably beginning in 2020, about how they're going to implement it. There is monies out there for farmers to obtain funds to cover the cost of actually developing a plan. And it's just educating them that the monies are there and available. There's entities like TMAG that are available that will be more than glad to assist the preparation of those plans.
Is this something that will be discussed at that upcoming forum at Shady Maple?
That will be one of the discussions. Exactly. And that group did express appreciation of the board supporting that from its previous meeting. And so with that, that concludes my management report. I do have a request for an executive session. It will be an item that will not result in any action of the board, so at the end of the meeting, we can adjourn me, Mr. Chairman, and we can then go into executive session to discuss a fire personnel matter.
Okay, any comments or questions for the manager? Public comment from non-agenda items.
Mr. Chair, can I go quick? My report.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I apologize for being late. We were on an incident that could have actually taken quite a long time tonight, but it was resolved pretty quick and safely, so I'm happy about that. So I do apologize. The only other thing I will comment on is the stabbing that occurred on May 23rd. It was a Thursday night at about 10 p.m. The individual was taken to Lancaster General Hospital. He was in surgery that night. A suspect was developed. The investigators interviewed the individual, the victim, the following day, and by 4:30 Friday afternoon, and having on Thursday evening, by 4:30 Friday afternoon, we had an arrest warrant for the suspect. He was still at large. We were diligently looking for him, but it was a quick resolve. There was no danger to the public. It was a mutual, well, I don't want to say mutual, but it was 2 known people that got involved in the fight. So we're looking for that individual. As soon as we find him, he will be arraigned and bail will be set. That's all.
Any other questions for the chief? Thanks, chief. Sorry, I apologize. Donnie?
Tommy Stone, Town Fire Company. Chris left, but the night the tornado went through, him and the road crew helped us out tremendously. We got hit pretty hard over in the smokestack area, and Chief definitely had to come assist us to influence a resident that since his roof wasn't on his house anymore, he shouldn't be there anymore, so we needed his assistance to help make a gentleman. And I just wanted to thank them for their help that night.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I went, and also Premier Tree Company did was phenomenal. They basically put a lot of their normal routine contracts on hold that week and actually came out and it was like having a whole nother road crew team. Got White Oak Road opened up in a rather timely manner. There was over 100 trees that we had within the right of way that were down, blocking roads after that tornado. And we had White Oak Road open within 24 hours, and that was about 50 of the 100 trees that were down. So definitely a shout out for what the road crew did, what Chris and his team did, as well as our tree service company that's been helping us. There's a couple of trees that had some rather high reach danger. The White Oak that greatly exceeded our ability of our lift to get up to, and they knocked that stuff out really quick. So it was a good team effort with both groups.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Motion we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We adjourn.